single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey there, Cerise here. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm located in the north coast of the Dominican Republic in a little beach town called Cabarete. Welcome to Story Time. You're going to hear some traffic in the background. Let me see if I can close my sliding doors. Oh, my sliding doors lead to a beautiful beachfront. It's so gorgeous, guys. If you want to come here, you let me know. I can help connect you with a beautiful beachfront luxury apartment or a humble affair. Alrighty, let's hope that stopped the noise a little bit there while I get into this story time and sip on my Santo Domingo coffee. It's very early in the morning right now, and I am waiting for the news to come out to see if things are going to shut down here again. And we're all going to find out today, Friday. So look out for the update. Oh, well, the story time might come out tomorrow. Let's see, which will be a Saturday. And in which case you may already have the update. But let's just go on with the story time. Here we go, guys. So the story comes to me from an American man. And funny enough, this American man was originally Dominican. His parents are Dominican. They moved to America and they worked very hard to make a very good living for themselves. And they raised their children very well. This man was raised very, very well. Okay, so now he comes back to the Dominican Republic because his parents bought a lot of properties here and he's helping to manage the properties and he's doing very well. Now, the next thing that happens is he meets an investor, a guy that goes around the world and invests in different companies, different projects, and he wanted to invest in, well, let's give this guy a name. We'll call him Cody, okay, the Dominican American. We'll call him Cody. And then we'll call the other guy, the foreign investor, we will call him Squiggly. That's just what he is, a little squiggly. So anyway, Squiggly and Cody, they met through business and they became very good business friends. They decided to even go in on a few projects together, just alone, Cody without his parents. And so they were all making a lot of money together. This guy was originally from Europe somewhere. And now he was really invested heavily into the Dominican Republic. He even took all his other investments from around the world that were making money and he invested them heavily here into the Dominican Republic. He was selling off everything. So he loves this place, okay, this island. And so what happened was he actually got married to a Dominican woman. Now, the Dominican woman was a working girl and he met her in Santo Domingo. Now, she was a working girl here in Sosua, but she lived in Santo Domingo. She's what some people call weekend warrior. And she would come to the north coast here, to Sosua area, and she would work for the weekend. And then after the weekend, she would go back home with her stack of cash and take care of herself, her family. She could be in school. It could be, that she's building to try to buy a home. And so those women, when they come in, they're coming in for a very specific reason. So he met her in Santo Domingo, not while she was working. So he had no clue that she was a working girl on weekends. So he never really made it to Sosua himself. It wasn't really his thing. He wasn't really into Sosua at all. And neither was Cody. But there was a business opportunity one weekend. And he didn't tell her that he was going to Sosua. You see, Squiggly never ever told her. Let's give her a name. We'll call her Vestido. That means dress. in Espanol. Yes, I'm running out of names, but you know what? I'll just use names of the words that I'm using here, the palabras, so you guys can also learn as we go along. Hey, why not? So anyway, Vestido, she was again a girl that worked on the weekends, and so he was always working on the weekends. Squiggly. So Squiggly this weekend just happened. This one weekend happened to pop into Sosua for a business deal. Now again, he never told her where his business deals would be. She just always knew he was doing business deals, and he was never cheating. He was never with other women or anything like that. He was always doing business. Him and Cody were always doing business, and especially on weekends. So he's in one club. He's in this club along Pedro Clisante. I won't name the club, but he's in the club, and well, it's nothing against the club, right? Because it's actually promoting the club. That's where you can go and have a good time and meet people and stuff of that nature. So it was in Clásicos, and they walked in, and Cody immediately saw Vestido. He didn't say anything at all. He understood that Vestido was living on her own. She was living with her mother. She had no children. She was taking care of her grandmother as well. And she was living on very little. And when she was in Santo Domingo, she was hustling, always out looking for a job, trying to clean houses and everything. And he wasn't surprised that she was in Sosua on the weekend. And he was actually proud of her because she was independent. And here she was, her boyfriend's a millionaire. Squiggly was a millionaire, is a millionaire. And he wasn't even paying for anything for her because he was afraid to be used. Now, he is a good-looking man, Squiggly, and he takes very, very good care of himself. And she didn't want him. She was really, truly attracted to him. A lot of women were attracted to him, are attracted to him. He takes very good care of himself. By the pictures, my gosh, let me tell you. So she really felt within herself that to hold on to him, she couldn't ask for anything. She couldn't ask for money, and she couldn't expect it because she had the mindset that what if he wasn't around? She would still have to take care of herself. So Cody, when he saw that she was in the club, he knew she wasn't there partying it up, and he knew she wasn't there, spending money and getting drunk. She was sitting there quietly with a gentleman, and he looked like a regular. He looked like he was taking care of her, and she was pretty much his escort. Now, after about 15 minutes passed, Cody suggested that they leave the bar, that they leave and they just go to another place. And Squiggly didn't want to. Squiggly said, no, this is where the meeting is supposed to happen. I want to make sure we're here and we're on time and we don't waste anyone's time. And the streets were very busy and it was a weekend, and Squiggly felt like just staying right where everyone was supposed to meet is right where they were supposed to meet. So that was it. Squiggly said he was going to go use the washroom, and that's close to where Vestido was sitting with the gentleman. So Squiggly runs towards the washroom, or walks towards the washroom, and of course he sees her immediately, right? He sees her, and she looks at him, and she got up immediately and she walked over to him, and she said, sorry. And he said, sorry. And she said, yes, sorry, you can leave me if you want. I would completely understand it. And he said, what? And he totally went out the front with her, he told Cody he'd be right back. He didn't end up going back. Cody had to wait for the gentleman to talk and do the business meeting. And, not business meeting necessarily, but the business meet and greet and get to know each other and all that. And so that night, what happened was Vestido explained everything to Squiggly, and Squiggly decided that he was going to keep her. And he said, you know what? I'm going to keep you, but you can't go on the streets any longer. and he decided that he was going to give her some money. He was going to give her an allowance. So he asked her, how much does she make usually on the weekends when she goes and does that? And she told him how much she made. She told him she makes about $400. And he was like, wow, okay, $400, that's not bad. And he told her that he would give her an allowance of $2,000 a month. Now that is living very, very large, right? Because like $2,000 a month, you can live on here very easily. You Americans, you Europeans, you Canadians, Africans, you Italians, everyone around the world. Let me just say, all you people from all around the world. Okay, Indians, let me not forget India. India has been reaching out to me a lot lately. Shouts out to India. And yes, so come on, like, wow, you can live large on $2,000 a month. And so he started to give her $2,000 a month, which was very kind. And she cleaned herself up completely. She moved her parents, her mom and her grandmother out of the hood, and they were living very well. She made sure that they had all their comforts. If you can live good here as a foreigner on 2,000, imagine how great you could live as a native on 2,000. Okay, because she had all the connections, all the hookups and everything. Oh, wow. So she was living really good. There was no way she was ever going to leave him. And he never cheated on her. And so now, let me just get to the hunk of the story now. So now he had to go back to, there was a trip that they all used to go on, Cody as well, all of them. And they used to all go to Europe on a trip, some type of a men's trip. And it was different every year, but it would be somewhere where they could experience a lot of fun. Whether it was like, one trip was only about cognac. That was it, only about cognac, the drink. And another one was only about cigars. Another one was only about like weapons and stuff. So like for hunting. And so they were always doing something. But one year Cody could not go, and Squiggly was actually quite ignorant. Let me just give you the whole background. Okay, so when they would go on these trips, they would take Vestido with them because Squiggly didn't trust her. Never ever trusted her after that when he saw her in the club. And so he would take her on the trips. Now, this particular trip, the men said no women at all. And she was always the only wife. Always the only wife. She would cook for them. She would clean everywhere. But this one trip, they were just like, no women. Just all us men. That's it. Squiggly. All men. No women. Come on. And so they said they would hire a maid to do the things that they need. And they didn't want his wife to do it. And plus, they all felt uncomfortable with the wife there too, right? Because some of those guys did want to cheat, and they felt bad when they would have to do it in front of her, and they didn't want to get drunk in front of her and all that stuff. So they had their reasons, right? And she knew all their wives. So yes, they had their reasons. So in any case, Squiggly didn't like it. He didn't know who to keep at home with her. So now Cody couldn't go on that trip. Cody had to stay in town for a very important business meeting with his parents. So he couldn't even go. And so this is where the ignorant part comes in. Squiggly asked Cody to take care of Vestido. He said to Cody that Vestido would never want him. Right? He said, I know Vestido would never want you. You know, you're not really her taste. She thinks she likes white men. She just wants a white man, rich white man. So I know she would never want you. And, you know, I got more money than you got anyway. So what is she going to do? I trust you, and I trust you too. And I know that you're a good guy, and you would never ever cross that border and that boundary. And of course, you know, first of all, he was shocked. Cody was shocked at that exactly what Squiggly had said. But Cody didn't take it personally because he knew Squiggly was just that loudmouth type of guy that just said whatever came off the top of his head. So he didn't really take it personally. And he did accept the offer to take care of Vestido and make sure, that no one was going in the house and she wasn't going to any clubs or going to trying to make any money on the side. And she never did that again. So he did. He stayed at the house. Squiggly asked him to stay at the estate. Now he had Vestido's mother, Vestido's grandmother, stay at the estate, the main estate, and he had Cody stay there as well. So now, fast forward, the weekend went fine. He took off. Squiggly took off. Didn't worry at all. Didn't have to. The weekend went really, really well. The next weekend happened where Squiggly had hurt himself when he was away, and he couldn't make it back in to the Dominican Republic. He had to go back home and go get something taken care of. I think he broke something or he did something, but he just wanted the best top-notch service. Now these two are still spending time together. Cody is staying at the estate graciously, just like a really good friend. He's been there for a whole week. He was there for the weekend, straight through to the next weekend, and making sure that Vestido wasn't doing anything. And then finally, Squiggly gets home. Now, when Squiggly gets home, Squiggly notices that Vestido is behaving differently. Now, remember, Vestido has her own apartment with her grandmother and her mother, her own house. Beautiful house in Santo Domingo. She was only staying at the estate sometimes when Squiggly would have her there, because Squiggly liked his space and he didn't want her mother and her grandmother living with them, and he knew that she had to take care of her grandmother and her mother, so he would allow her to go back and forth. Allow her, that word right there, allow her. And so he noticed that she was freely going back. He didn't even have to tell her he needed his space. Before his trip, he was telling her that he would need his space. He'd be like, okay, pack some things up. You got to go home. I need my space now. Go see your mom and your grandmother, and, they probably need you and stuff. And he didn't have to do that. She was doing it automatically. One day, she told me, by the way, this Cody and Anna told me, not Anna. Cody and her real name's not Anna either. Vestido told me this story. And now, Anna, she said that she just packed up her stuff. She didn't even want to stay with him. He was complaining. Squiggly was complaining one day. She said before he went on that trip and before he had to go away to get checked at the doctor, he would always complain and yell and holler and scream, but never in a way that would turn her off. She would always just accept it because that's who she decided to be with, and she knew he was a good guy deep down inside. So she would always accept it. But when he got back and he started to behave that way, she couldn't be around him. She felt he was just too harsh, too rough, and her nerves started to shake. She said she just got so grossed out. And she said to herself, she knew if she left him, she would miss out on that $2,000 a month. He was still giving it to her. And she knew if she left him, she would have to go back on the streets and be a working girl. So she knew not to leave him, but she still packed up a few things. And he said to her, where are you going? And she said, I'm going to go back home. I have to take care of my mom and my grandmother. And he said, well, why don't you get that lady down the street to take care of them? Isn't she taking care of them? I just got here. Why are you leaving already? And Vestido was like, well, there's nothing, there was nothing. And he looked at her in her eyes and he said to her, are you leaving me? And she said, no. And he said, yes, you are. You don't love me. You lost love. And she said, no. And he said, yes, you did. And she just kept saying no, no. And she said to me, Cerise, there was nothing else out that I could say. All I could say was no, no. I had no other words that could come out of my mouth, she said. And I said to her, I said, well, what happened? And she said they were together for a few more months after that. He said to her, I don't know what's going on, but you might need your space. And I'm going to give it to you. I will still give you your allowance, and I will still make sure that everything is cool with you. I will take care of you, but I'm giving you a month to decide what you want. So she left his place. And after about a week, she did miss him. She wanted to see him. She wanted to sit down with him and talk to him and ask him to start being a better person. Start speaking to her in a nicer way. Stop accusing her and stop assuming that she's out cheating around. And she also confronted him on having Cody there and having her stay at the estate and how he didn't trust her. And she failed to tell him that she grew feelings for Cody during that short period that Squiggly was gone. You see, Cody treated her like a gentleman. Cody treated her like a queen. He didn't allow her to lift a finger. And that's something about the Latin affection here. I've noticed that with men that I've dated here. And I've dated 3 men, maybe too much information. I'm on my 3rd man in 2 years. And I found that, everyone has their issues in life, but I find that Dominican men are not subservient, no. They are not pushovers, no. But they are very willing to give you what you need. For example, if I say, yo necesito, that means I need, immediately they will say, tú necesitas, like tú necesitas, or que tú necesitas, like what do you need? And it is very much like the women as well. The women here, my women Dominican friends, if I haven't seen my friend Elsa in Los Chitomicos since I moved here a month ago, and I haven't really seen her much, when she misses me, she really is very kind about it, very sweet about it. Like, she will message me and say, where have you been? I haven't seen you. I miss you. When will I see you again? And I get back to her and it's like, wow, wow, thank you. It's very loving. And the people here are very much like that, and also very caring. And so I believe that's what happened with Vestido. She was with the foreigner for so long, and he did not treat her with respect, and she grew accustomed to it, and she allowed it, and it was breaking her spirit, and she felt guilty because of what she did. And she knew that he had no reason to trust her because of what he caught her doing. But he didn't realize that she was doing it because she didn't want to take advantage of him in the first place. And if you really chalk it up and break it down, he should have been giving her a little something. Seeing her live in a shack, she showed me some of the photos. The shack is awful, tin roof. And it wasn't even all together. It was rusty. And I have lived in a house here with a zinc roof, but it was leaking at one point, but it could be sealed very easily. This one here was rusted. And he would visit her there, and they would sit. She said there was a time it was raining out and he didn't want to go in the house because it was too hot. They couldn't afford a fan. And so they sat outside, and he had an umbrella. As they were sitting outside on the veranda that was supposed to be covered in, he had an umbrella over his head instead of, the next day, and it was during rainy season, and he would bring that umbrella every time. Instead of fixing the roof for her, which would have just costed a few $100s, he would bring an umbrella every time, and she said she would sit on his lap under the umbrella and just be happy to be there with him. And those are the types of things that she grew accustomed to. Instead of him saying, hey, baby, let me fix this roof for you so we can sit comfortably, and so can your grandmother and your mother, he takes an umbrella for the two of them to sit. And not only that, it was leaking in the house too. Like, come on. That's a man that didn't think, a man without a clue. I have a website called Men Without a Clue. I have a Facebook page called Men Without a Clue, but it's not based upon men only. So I'm not a male hater, guys. Slow down. Hold your pants up. It's just tactics on relationships and how to handle relationships. And it goes for the girls too, right? It's just that it started out as giving men tips. And now I realize that we all need tips around the world, all us women. But anyway, I digress. I apologize. So now she, I think, grew in love with Cody because of the way he treated her. And that's... Stay tuned for part 2.
Every single day